Everything between me and my wife, 31 female, seemed perfect on the outside. We have been together since high school. It was like something out of a romantic comedy. She was the nerdy girl who spent her lunch periods in the library, and I was the football player. Even though historically, we would have never spent time together, she and I ended up falling for each other. Right after college, we ended up getting married. We could move forward and start our lives together. We bought our first house very young. We both scored very nice jobs, and we started planning to have kids. Fast forward 3 years, and we have one son and another baby on the way. In high school, my wife had a friend who had always rubbed me the wrong way. It was so obvious that he had a thing for her, but she constantly insisted that he was just nice. I tried to explain to her that it made me uncomfortable when she spent a lot of time with him because it was clear to me that he liked her and didn't care that she and I were happily married. Whenever I would bring it up, it would always cause an argument, so eventually I gave up. They talked on the phone all the time. They would always be texting each other and sending memes, and they had a ton of little inside jokes that I always felt like I was on the outside of. He didn't attend the same college as us, but they reconnected after graduation when we all moved back to our hometown. As it turned out, he was studying in the same field as her, so they were able to land a job at the same company. My wife didn't have a ton of friends in high school, so when she made a lot of friends at her new job, she was very excited. She was buddy-buddy with a lot of the girls in the office, and they would go to brunches, theater, and they would even have sleepovers on occasion. I was really happy for her because I knew she was looking for a group like that for so long, and part of me thought she would be spending less time with her male best friend. Last winter, I started to notice the difference in how she interacted with him. She didn't talk to him as often, or at least I didn't see them talking as much. He stopped coming over to the house, and I only saw him on occasion when I would visit the office. I was hopeful that she had outgrown him, and they were finally parting ways. One day, my wife came to me and told me that a bunch of the girls from the office were planning a girls' trip for the weekend. She told me it would be harmless fun, just drinking some wine, and talking while they relaxed with their face masks. She left Friday evening, and I stayed at home with the kids. I genuinely hadn't thought anything was wrong. Saturday evening rolls around, and I'm in bed searching through Netflix looking for something to watch when my phone rings. It was a phone call for her male best friend. Right away, I thought it was strange because he and I had never really been close, so him calling me was bizarre. I answered the phone and waited for him to say something, but he never did. I was about to hang up the phone when I heard a part of the conversation they were having. He was telling my wife how much he loved her. My wife was on the other line as well. Wherever she had gone for the weekend, he had gone as well. I absolutely could not put down the phone while I listened. She told him that she regretted what they had done a few weeks ago, and that last night was a mistake. She had gone there to have a conversation with him and everything. It was then that I realized there never was a girls' trip. They continued their conversation until I could hear them kissing on the other line that I finally hung up. I couldn't believe what I just heard. I felt sick to my stomach, and I wanted to scream, but I couldn't do anything to upset my children. At first, I thought it was such an odd time to be butt-dialed by him. The more I thought about it, people only butt-dialed their recent contacts, so it didn't make sense for him to have accidentally called me. He did it on purpose. He called me while he had that conversation, hoping I would overhear it. About an hour passed, then I got the text messages. They were all from him. They were screenshots of conversations, pictures they had sent each other, and even a clip from a video that he had taken at the lake house they were staying in. I was absolutely shocked. It was the last thing I wanted to see, but I was glad he sent it. I didn't say anything back. He probably thought that he had won this imaginary fight that he and I have been having for the past 10 years, but I would find a way to make them both pay. I sat on the information stewing and all of the ideas that I had to get revenge on them both. I knew that I wanted to get them fired, but that didn't seem like punishment enough. My wife came back Sunday night and couldn't even meet my eyes. She felt guilty for what she did, as she should have. By the end of the week, she would only feel worse. I pretended like nothing happened, not wanting to stir the pot and upset our children any more than they would be after everything. Their well-being was my priority, which apparently she didn't care too much about. On Wednesday, I was able to get a meeting with her boss. Her company had a strict no dating within the workplace rule, so I knew at the very least they would both be reprimanded for that. The real kicker in all of it was that one of the pictures my wife's friend sent me was of them together in the break room. I had attended many company Christmas parties in the past, so I recognized it well. Her boss was horrified when she saw the images of them together. No doubt she was thinking about how she drank her coffee at the table they screwed on. Now I knew my wife and I knew her well. I was certain she had no clue her friend sent me any of the information that he did. When she found out what he did, she would want nothing to do with him. His little power play cost him any chance he had of being with her after our separation. As soon as I stepped out of the office, I watched her boss storm over to her friend and practically dragged him into the office. I went right over to my wife's desk, and I dropped an envelope with all of the printed documents I had been sent alongside divorce papers. She had one of those open offices that didn't like to use cubicles or box their workers in, so everybody got a good view when I served her the papers. I told her that I wanted a divorce. Then, with my voice raised higher than it normally would be, I told her I knew everything about her affair with her friend. I watched the women around her raise their eyebrows and hurriedly look away as if they couldn't hear anything. My wife's face was as red as a tomato. She was so embarrassed. I walked out of the office, knowing that she was likely about to get fired for what happened in the break room. I took the kids to my brother's house, and we stayed with him for a few weeks while I looked for another apartment. She and I are officially divorced, but we're still going through custody hearings for the children. We have agreed on joint custody, but the biggest issue is figuring out the holiday schedule. She and her friend were both fired, and from what I understand, she has completely cut him off. She moved back in with her mom, and I ended up selling the house that I got to keep. Oh, P. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Her friend's intentions were always clear to you from the start, and it's such a shame that she wouldn't listen to you. Setting up clear boundaries between the two of them could have prevented the fallout of your marriage, but it seems like she might have had lingering feelings for him too. The worst part of all of this is that she didn't even have the courage to tell you about the affair. He only called to hurt you. You're right that it does seem like some sick power play on his end. I really hope you were able to move on from this and find someone else more worth the time and effort. Now let's move on to our next story. I, 26 male, met my ex, 25 female in college, but we didn't date right away. We ended up running into each other after graduation and hooking up. She and I had been running in the same circles, but we weren't close by any means in college. After running into her, I did admit that I had a bit of a crush on her at some point. And she told me that she felt the same way. Things were good with us for a while. We had been together for 3 years when I popped the question and asked her to be my wife. She was beyond excited and told me that she wanted nothing more than to be my wife. We hadn't been living together at the time. She was on a lease with a roommate, and she didn't want to abandon her. After our engagement, she slowly started moving things over, so she could officially live with me when her lease was up. She spent most of her nights at my apartment anyway, so it made sense. Every now and then she would crash at her apartment if she was super exhausted from work or if she had to get up extra early. She told me she did that just so she wouldn't disturb me when she got up and did her whole makeup routine to get ready. As much as I wish she was at my apartment, I didn't really mind that much since she was only a few blocks away. What I didn't know at the time was that she was using her old room as a place to film for her OnlyFans. I didn't even know she had an OnlyFans. She didn't have the best job when I met her. She was making about $16 an hour and she was being worked to the bone. She would constantly be complaining about terrible coworkers. the things she had to do and how exhausted she was at the end of every day. It took me a little while to notice, but she stopped complaining about all of that. Not only was she not telling me about her workday, she suddenly had all of this money to throw into our wedding. She wanted designer dresses, the nicest venue, premium organic food, you name it. I told her I had no idea how we were going to afford her dream wedding, but she just kept telling me that we would figure it out. I found out about her account by complete coincidence. Realistically, there was probably some algorithm that brought to this. My girlfriend looked like my dream girl, so most of the pictures I would look at online were of women who looked very similar. I was scrolling through some Twitter comments, and I saw one of those ads for an OnlyFans account nested within them. It wasn't from her account, it was from some bot account that just listed a bunch of different models to get views. I had to do a double take when I scrolled past it to make sure it really was her. I was 100% certain that the woman in the video I saw was my fiancé. Now there's no shame in having these accounts and making money from them. Honestly, if they can hustle doing that, then good for them. But I wished I would have known that my girlfriend had one herself. I'm a pretty traditional guy, and I don't love the idea of other men online seeing my girlfriend completely naked, doing God only knows what. Of course, I had to click on the account to see what was happening. I paid $14 for a month subscription so I could see for myself what she was posting. For the most part, it was all stuff she was doing by herself. I recognized right away that it was in her old apartment, so it finally made sense why she was so hesitant to leave. I didn't like that she was doing this. And at the very least, I wish she'd have told me. I thought maybe we could have a conversation about it, and I could convince her to delete it. It wasn't worth throwing away her future. At least I thought that until I saw collaboration she did with another creator. They were in her room, and there was a full video of her having sex with some random man. The more I scrolled, the more content of the two of them that I found. It looked like they had filmed 10 videos together and had taken countless photos. All of her subscribers loved it and were asking for more of them together. I scrolled back further and found another collaboration with a woman that I recognized as her roommate. I was shocked by all of it, but I couldn't look away. I didn't understand why she would open an account without speaking to me about it. And how could she so casually cheat on me on the account? I couldn't stay at home and see her, so I crashed at my buddy's place and talked to him about it. He helped talk me down and figure out what I should do. We both came up with the idea of ruining her account. I still had my subscription, so we commented on a post pretending to be another hot girl. And invited a bunch of her subscribers to watch an Instagram live of us. Of course, a bunch of them jumped at the opportunity. When I had enough people, I explained what happened, telling all of those men that she had cheated on me and kept the entire account a secret. A lot of them didn't like that because she was pretending to be this nice sweetheart when she spoke to them. They felt like she was lying to them, so they canceled their subscriptions. My fiancé found out and came to confront me at my friend's house, which she saw that I wasn't home. We had a huge argument, and she tried to explain to me that she was doing it for us so we could have a nice wedding. I just told her that the wedding was off and explained that she needed to get her things out of my apartment. She tried to convince me not to leave her, but I had no interest in being with her after White Scene. We ended up officially breaking up and calling off the wedding. She's continued using her OnlyFans. Apparently, the guy she had collaborated with had a girlfriend who didn't know about the videos they made. She dumped him and posted a video explaining what happened, and his account tanked too. I was glad that my video could help her see the truth. I can't believe you had to go through that. Creating an account on something like that is something you should disclose to your partner. From the sound of it, you would have definitely done whatever you could to give your fiancé her dream wedding. It's such a shame she would go behind your back like that. Her hiding the account was bad enough without secretly sleeping with another man for content. They had agreed to film together several times. That goes far beyond a one-time collaboration. the two of them must have had some other kind of connection. I'm glad you were able to break away from her, and I'm glad your story was able to help another person in a similar situation. I wish you well, and I hope you can recover from this. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care.